Hey, what's up, guys? Sean here. So, Greg and I are back from our Pennsylvania road trip, and I had a great time.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah, so.
I would do it again.
Right. So, this video is going to be a little bit different. We are going to go to one of the places that I've been wanting to go to for a very long time. Today, we're going to hit Gettysburg, historic Gettysburg battlefield, and I have been so looking forward to this trip. So, in this video, we're going to talk about the Gettysburg battlefield, but we're going to do something a little different. We decided that it would be easier and a little more uh, in-depth explanation, or a little more accurate probably, to go through and do the audio tour, the auto driving tour. Um, that thing worked out really, really well. So
yeah, we had about 4 or 5 things we wanted to see, and that tour encompassed everything.
Right.
In one package for us.
And part of the problem is, they say at Gettysburg, it takes 3 days to see everything. We didn't have 3 days. We had 3 hours. Well, we were supposed to have 3 hours. But so we kind of had to, the plan was to just sort of, hit and miss a few of the highlights. But when we got there, we kind of saw this audio tour that you could do driving around. So we decided to use that. And you'll see in the video here that that's what we did. We left the audio in from that so you get more accurate information. And I think it's interesting for you guys to see the tour that we took, just in case you guys decide you want to go do the tour yourself and you want to do that audio tour. You'll have a little better understanding of how it works. You'll see that in the beginning of it, we didn't quite have it figured out, but thank goodness I had Greg with me because he figured it out. So, hope you guys enjoy the video, and we'll see you at the end. Stick around for the end, and we're going to do a wrap-up of the whole trip that we just went on, and we'll talk about what we thought about Gettysburg and this audio tour. Well, we are here. We are at historic Gettysburg. So we have a short time, a limited amount of time to check stuff out, but I think we're gonna hit a few key spots. I'm gonna try to see Little Round Top and the cemetery and the wheat field, and who knows, we might see a few other things while we're here, but I've been wanting to come to Gettysburg for a long time. We're finally gonna do it. I'm excited. It's kind of crazy to think that cannonball might have been coming at you. Great shot. Man. Definitely wouldn't want to have been on the receiving end of any of that. It's kind of crazy to think about. Look at this. The tree's got balls still in it. Piece of shrapnel. Wow.
I thought they were with the South.
So most of you know that I am very interested in anything to do with history, especially Civil War and stuff. I've done the Battle of Olustee video. If you haven't watched that, I'll link this before we went to the reenactment. But this is, like I said, this has been on my bucket list for a while, so we're getting to mark this off. All these cannons they've got hanging up here. Pretty neat. We're gonna check a few more things out in here, and then we're gonna head out, and I think we're gonna do the self-guided car tour, so that should be pretty cool. Yeah, that's crazy. Case shot. So this is crazy. That would come out of the cannon, and then it would basically like a giant shotgun, and a lot of people killed with those. It's crazy. So they would actually have to swab the barrel of the cannons with water, and the reason they did that is because you were going to have to pack that cannon again with gunpowder, and you didn't want any sparks or anything left over down there, so they would swab the barrel with water and then repack it for the next shot. But pretty interesting here. So me and Greg's walking around here in the gift shop, and Greg found these little bells. What do you think? Should I get one? And I could set it by my end table, and every time I need a drink, I could ring the bell and make Sarah go get me a drink. This might get me hurt. Just sitting here by Abe. What are you reading? He's not talking too much. He's busy, I think. We'll leave him alone. So it is time for the self-guided car tour. So we're gonna head out to the car and try to get us a self-guided tour together. So should be a lot of fun. They say that to really see this place, it takes 3 days or so. Greg and I have a couple of hours. So we're gonna hit some highlights. Let's go. All right, we are headed on the self-guided tour, Gettysburg. It's crazy to think that right where we're at, there were battles going on. The National Cemetery was back there.
It's not getting the audio commentary. So how long have these buildings been here?
Right. The cider house.
Shriver House Museum at Gettysburg.
Go left here. That's it. Ghosts of Gettysburg Candlelight Walking Tour.
There you go. Gettysburg Moonshine Company.
Yeah, look at these old buildings here now. Wow. So this guided tour, self-guided tour, is not the easiest thing to figure out. We're trying to do it, but the audio isn't syncing up with it, so it's giving us a little bit of a tough time. We may just end up having to get you guys some video of the highlights of it. I'll do some driving, but we'll probably just get you some highlights of it. That's a neat old church there. We are on Washington Street and Breckenridge. So I'm supposed to make a left here.
I think I know what's going on. I think that this is using Google Maps to get us to the start. But once we're at the start, we're supposed to just go by this.
Okay. All right.
Well,
Maybe we need to
use Google Maps to go to the start. And let's go back to the Gettysburg.
And we'll start there.
And then not use the Google Maps.
Okay.
We'll still get the audio, but we'll follow along on the phone.
All right, that'll work. So we were trying to follow the self-guided tour, but the problem that we had was we had the Google Maps up on the phone, but it doesn't follow the route that we're on. So we have abandoned the Google Maps right now, and Greg's just going to give me turn-by-turn directions. We're going to try to follow the self-guided tour that will kind of talk along as we're going. So we'll see how that goes.
Keep your fingers crossed.
Keep your fingers crossed and follow along with us. Give us some patience, though, because we're doing the best we can. This is going to be fun. We're going to make it fun somehow. All right, here we go again.
It's a check mark. We've accomplished something. Yeah, it's a turn left on St. John. And you're going to go through the stop sign. I've seen a couple of locals in the dress of the day, like the lady back there
Right.
had the long gown on that they wore, Victorian style.
Yeah.
And we saw a couple of soldiers like sitting out on the lawn. So they've been hit some reenactment people here.
Yeah.
You're going to turn left on E Middle Street up here.
At the next stoplight, use the left lane to turn left on West Middle Street. The Battle of Gettysburg is pretty complex, so here's a quick overview of the field and the people involved. The battle begins on the morning of July 1st, 1863. It ends 3 days later, on July 3rd. We'll explore each of these 3 days in detail as we drive along. Over 170,000 men fight. The Union soldiers follow General George Meade. Many key decisions, however, are made by the generals under him. These include Winfield Hancock, John Buford, and
Get that old
Lysander
house.
Cutler.
Oh, wow.
General Robert E. Lee leads the Confederates. His key generals include Richard Ewell, Robert Rhodes, James Longstreet, and George Pickett. Now don't worry about remembering all these names. I'll give you more info on them throughout the tour. Continue straight through the next few intersections. It's a warm, sunny July morning. General John Buford stands atop a ridge, surveying his troops. Just 2 cavalry brigades, nowhere near enough to fend off the approaching Confederate army. He sets up defensive positions on 3 ridges far ahead, west of Gettysburg. If he can buy time for the rest of his army to arrive, his men might just make it out of this alive. The Confederate vanguard arrives and launches their assault, expecting easy victory. They charge, but Buford's men don't flinch. Their first charge is shattered by a torrent of Union rifle fire. Then the next. In spite of the odds, Buford's men hold the line. But 2 hours later, the attacks are taking their toll. They're running out of bullets and can't hold on much longer. Just then, a trumpet sounds. Union General John Reynolds arrives with backup in the nick of time. A stray Confederate bullet knocks Reynolds from his horse and kills him, but his men charge into the fray regardless. Confederate troops under General James Archer and Joseph Davis don't realize reinforcements have arrived and attack again. Their men are gunned down left and right, forcing another retreat. Thus begins the first of a 3-day-long battle that will take the lives of thousands and shape the course of the nation.
Oh, wow. Look at all these huge markers. Robertson's brigade. I am Bowden's brigade. These huge fields, you know, these battle. It's almost like tingly, the feeling that troops were out here over 100 years ago. Sean,
We're driving
relic hunting.
along McPherson Ridge, where Union forces made their first stand against the Confederate assault. Now let's go back to that first day morning. As we heard already, Confederate troops try to encroach, but Buford's cavalry defend with heavy fire. Bodies of Confederate soldiers litter these fields. That's when Union General Reynolds arrives with reinforcements. This also includes regiments under General Lysander Cutler. The Union generals signal for a counterattack. Hundreds of men charge to the bottom of the ridge. If they can break Confederate lines, defending their position will be a done deal. But on the open field, without the ridge and fortifications protecting them, they might as well be running into a brick wall. Chaos reigns. They can't break the Confederate lines and return to the top of the ridge with heavy losses.
So Greg said earlier that it's kind of awe-inspiring thinking about everything that was going on here at the time and how this beautiful ridge here was full of gunfire and, you know, the thunder of the cannons. And then you think about the fact that, you know, it was probably covered in smoke from the cannons and just the sound of men yelling and all that stuff had to be so like incredibly scary and surreal. But getting here to be here, you can kind of feel that. I don't know if you can see that, but I've got goosebumps, and I can't explain that, but I do have goosebumps from it, and it's actually pretty heavy to think about, but it's pretty cool. So right here we've got Battery B, 1st Pennsylvania Artillery, commanded by Captain James Cooper, 4 3-inch rifled guns. We'll move on down through here and try to find a next point of interest. This is pretty neat though.
Big old cross. Pennsylvania Infantry L4, 142nd Pennsylvania Infantry, 1st Brigade, 3rd Division, 1st Corps.
Got a monument with a soldier on top of it here.
I think that farm's up on the left there. It's nice you can get out here and actually walk around too.
Yeah, they've got it.
Several walking paths and stuff.
Yeah, they've got it set up where you can park and get out and go look at some stuff too.
Reynolds Woods. I'm sure the soldiers hid out in there.
Okay, slow down. See that barn on the left? That's the only remnant of the McPherson farm that once crowned this ridge. Both sides used it as a makeshift hospital.
Lots of monuments.
Lots
Holy
and
cow.
lots of monuments.
I expect all of that. creek right there. That's the railroad.
That's the railroad.
Yeah.
Everyone engaged in this battle has something to lose, but someone far away also sits on the edge of his seat, awaiting results. President Abraham Lincoln. The war so far has taken a great toll on his nation. If Lincoln can't end it soon, he stands no chance of enacting the reforms he envisions. Gettysburg could well be the linchpin that either allows him to retake control of the United States or puts an end to his presidency.
Little round top, big round top. Got the cemetery over here. I'm gonna do my best to make this a cohesive video where things kind of make sense, but we're gonna jump around quite a bit, so it might be kind of tough. And I understand it, not everybody is interested in this sort of thing, but it interests me, and we're out and about, and man, you couldn't ask for more beautiful scenery than this. Like, from here, unbelievable. So, sometimes it's not always about camping. We're out and about and seeing something new, checking off a bucket list item. You guys should be doing that too. Greg's headed off to see where this path goes. Let's go see. Holy mackerel. Yes, sir. To be a lookout on this hill would have been a great vantage point and a great advantage. Now, one of the things that they did is they would have flag signs. So there was a way that they actually sent signals with flags. So if they were too far away to send the outrider, they could send a signal of what they wanted to have done with a flag from a bald or a little rocky outcrop like this. It's pretty incredible.
Along these roads, you've been seeing plenty of monuments and memorials to different troops, generals, and landmarks. But my personal favorite is just ahead. Past the Stone Eagle statue, the Tall Spire Monument, and a handful of smaller memorials. Keep an eye out on the right for the memorial of an armed soldier, rifle pointing skyward and facing away from the road. Pause there. There's a dog sculpted on the other side of the statue's base. That's Battlefield Sally. She served as a mascot of the 11th Pennsylvania Infantry and accompanied these Union soldiers for most of the Civil War. While at military camp, Sally drilled with the soldiers, lined up for dress parades, and marched with the horses at the front of the regiment. And each time the 11th Infantry saw battle, Sally was right there on the front line, barking furiously at the enemy soldiers and guarding wounded comrades. During the first day of fighting at Gettysburg, Sally's regiment lost track of her and feared she had been killed. But days later, they found her atop Oak Ridge, still protecting her fallen brothers. Sally survived Gettysburg and went on to other battles. This brave pit bull was killed in action in 1865 during a Union attack on Hatcher's Run, Virginia. Under heavy fire, with bullets tearing through the air all around, several men of the 11th Infantry charged across the killing field to retrieve Sally's body and give her the burial she deserved. It's now late afternoon on July 1st. The Union has managed to hold McPherson Ridge, but now Lee launches an overwhelming attack. Suddenly facing attacks from the west and the north simultaneously, Union forces here start to give ground. When Lee himself arrives with more soldiers, Union lines finally break. They fall back here to Seminary Ridge. Holding the high ground carries a number of strategic advantages which can turn the tide in a close fight. First, it's the simplest way to slow a charge. If the attackers have to climb a hill as they charge towards your defensive line, they're going to be slower, get winded faster, and generally give you more time to break their charge with guns and cannon fire. Second, it's much harder to outflank you when you're on a hilltop. After all, you can see the battlefield better
Stop
and
here
can
real quick and take a
anticipate
quick
attacks
picture.
long before they arrive. Keep this in mind as the sun sets on the first day of battle. Atop the 28-foot granite pedestal stands none other than General Robert E. Lee astride his horse Traveler.
So I literally just told Greg that I wasn't going to make any other unscheduled stops. And then the cavalry is here. So I got to go check out some horse feet real quick.
Dismount, we'll dismount through forms on the ground, and we'll force horses away to keep safe.
Got the encampment back there through the trees.
Coming up on your left is the Longstreet Observation Tower. You can climb to the top and survey the same field on which Longstreet attacked the Union. The second day of the Battle of Gettysburg was by far the bloodiest. Of the more than 100,000 soldiers who fought, around 20,000
South
were
Carolina.
killed, wounded, or went missing. As I recount the day's events, you'll see how this day became even bloodier than the much larger Battle of Fredericksburg. Look to the left. That large hill is Big Round Top, and slightly to its left is the famous Little Round Top. We're heading there soon.
Well, we are here, so this is one of the sites that I wanted to see, Little Round Top. So I know a lot of you guys already know, but Little Round Top was one of the major points at Gettysburg here, and they say it could have been a turning point. So we're gonna go up here and check it out. It's pretty surreal. Oh wow, this is steep. How far can you see from here? Who knows? There's Greg. The surveyor that saw Little Round Top was not being used and brought troops up here to man Little Round Top, and that made a huge difference in the war.
Hundreds of Confederate soldiers sprint across this valley and try to scale the hill on the opposite side. But Union Brigadier General Samuel Crawford is ready for them. There's too much open ground and the hill is much too steep. Union men defeat hundreds of Confederate soldiers trying to cross the valley. As twilight approaches, Crawford orders his men to charge down the hill into the valley to make quick work of the remaining Confederate soldiers. The Valley of Death stretches out to your left. Can you imagine what it must have looked like on the evening of July 2nd? Some say the blood of hundreds of dead men flowed into the stream, which ran red for hours. The rocky ground ahead and on the right is the Devil's Den. Here Confederate sharpshooters set up positions among the volcanic rocks. From the safety of the rocky cover here, they're able to pick off soldier after soldier on the Union side. Union soldiers tried to rush the position and drive the sharpshooters out, but time and again they fail. While fighting rages on at Little Round Top, now behind us, Union soldiers stationed here notice something strange. Is something stirring in the wheat? Yes, Confederate soldiers. They're charging towards Cemetery Hill, where the center of the Union is vulnerable. The Union men surge forward to prevent this attack. 20,000 men clash together, tearing each other apart with bullets and bayonets.
That must be where the wheat field.
The fighting rages into the evening, neither side gaining much ground. Finally, Confederate regiments manage to push Union soldiers out of the field, but get no closer to Cemetery Hill. All that bloodshed for nothing. Stories like this remind us of the humanity of the Civil War soldiers. They were not just numbers or arrows on a map. They were people caught in the terrible machine of war. The road we've been driving on roughly traces the Union defensive line as it extends from Cemetery Ridge. About a mile off to our left stretches the Confederate line. This monument commemorates the nearly 35,000 Pennsylvania soldiers who fought in this battle. While the stakes were high for everyone, they were particularly intense for these men of Pennsylvania. They weren't fighting for an abstract ideal. They were fighting for their very state. Atop the dome is a sculpture of Nike, the goddess of victory and peace. The tip of her sword reaches 110 feet off the ground. The metal used to create this sculpture actually came from melted down cannons used during the war. The statues around the pillars were added in 1913 and depict President Abraham Lincoln, Pennsylvania Governor Andrew Curtin, and the Pennsylvania generals who fought in the battle.
All right, guys, so we have made it to the last stop on our Gettysburg adventure, and we are at the memorial where Lincoln gave the Gettysburg Address. And over here next to me is the memorial graveyard. So we're gonna walk over here real quick and get a few more shots of this graveyard, and we're gonna get on the road.
guys, so that wraps up our tour of Gettysburg. I enjoyed it myself. I think it was perfect.
Oh, I definitely. It was funny because when I was planning the trip, I happened to be looking on the map and I saw Gettysburg. I'm going, hey,
right.
we're not too far from Gettysburg. And when I floated the idea to Sean, we
I
were
was
both gung-ho. Both
right.
kind of history buffs.
Yeah, right
So,
there on it.
It was just an awesome experience. And like I think in the video, Sean says he had goosebumps. So did I. It was just an awful, not an awful, but it is an awesome, reverence type awesome experience to go through.
And you know as we're going from different spot to spot through there, and the guys giving you all the information. And I didn't give you the whole tour because it's 2 hours or something. It was long. Anyway,
it probably would take about 3 hours to 4 hours if we did it right.
Right. So I cut it down for you guys, obviously, so you didn't, because there's a lot more to it. But it's a very well done tour, audio tour. And, a lot of the places that it tells you to stop at, we didn't stop at all of them because we just didn't have the time. The plan was for us to do 3 hours at Gettysburg, and then we were going to have to book it to our last campsite, and that was in North Carolina. The plan was to get out of there about noon, right?
Yes.
We didn't get out of there until
about 1:30.
1:30. So, best laid plans and all that. So we ended up not even going to our last campsite because we had such a great time going through Gettysburg. And right there at the end, I wish I had gotten more footage of the cemetery. But to be honest with you, it was a little awe-inspiring, and there was so much stuff going on there that I just didn't film. I was more like in the moment,
yes.
which is great. A lot of times you guys don't realize this, but when I do an event, especially, I don't actually get to enjoy the event as much while I'm there because I'm filming the whole time. I actually get to experience the event through the editing, which is, it's good and bad. But this time at Gettysburg, right there at the cemetery, I was just able to, I was kind of like, I don't know, in awe, maybe, I don't know, I just didn't film as much as I should have.
You have to be able to take in the whole experience.
Yeah, and
really, because it hits you in your soul a little bit.
It does. It really does, because you think about how many people, how many men on either side fought and died there, and it's heavy. It's very heavy. You can feel it, and so I didn't get as much footage at the end there as I wanted to, but I hope you guys still got a good grasp of what it is. And I understand that this video is not for everybody. This video is not for all the just people who are interested in the camping stuff. But it still got us outside. It was part of our road trip together. This was the secondary goal of this trip. So the ultimate goal of this road trip was to get to our Knobel's YouTuber creator meetup that Tony had. And if you haven't watched that video, I'll link it up here. It was a great time. Tony did a great job with that. But like Greg said earlier, when we realized that Gettysburg was right there, it's like, we can't go this close and not go to Gettysburg. And there's so many other places along the way that I would have liked to stop at too, just towns that were connected to all this stuff. Because I am a history guy. I love history. And especially like Civil War and, Revolutionary War and that sort of thing. I love the history of that. And it was just such like, it just couldn't pass it up.
No.
And so, like I said,
like for myself, like Sean, I've been a history buff my whole life, and I've You know, I remember as a kid reading all about the Civil War, and of course, you know, in your American history class, you know, you talk about Washington, Delaware, to actually be in some of these states and going through these towns, crossing the Potomac River,
Yes.
just things like that.
Things that you've heard about your whole
that,
life.
That was, to me, was just probably, the, you know, going through Gettysburg, just the highlight of the trip, just being able to take the pictures out of my mind and see the real thing.
Yeah.
And I just tremendously enjoyed everything.
And one of the things that I was kind of surprised by, when you hear about the Battle of Gettysburg and they start talking about all these areas, Little Round Top, the wheat field, Devil's Den, all these things, and they talk about the battles that took place there. The Battle of Gettysburg did encompass a big area, but like you could almost throw a rock from Little Round Top to the Devil's Den,
Yep.
and the wheat field is right around the corner, and it was all skirmishes and battles and stuff, but they were all within
half a mile of each other.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. But if you're into history at all, if you've ever wanted to go to Gettysburg, if you don't have time to spend days and days there, I highly recommend doing this driving tour.
Yes.
Like you've seen in here, and I know there's probably way more information in there than you guys wanted, and you probably skipped over a bunch of it, and that's fine. But if you're interested in that sort of thing, that audio tour has so much information. And like I said, that's one of the reasons that we wanted to do it that way, because it can give you the most information, the most accurate information in a short amount of time, and well put together. That tour is really, really well put together.
Yes.
Like you seen in the beginning of it, we kind of had a tough time locking it in and trying to figure out how it worked. And what we ended up figuring out was that it was taking Google Maps was just taking us to the start of it, right?
When I first started the app up, we were just outside the actual museum, and it asked, do you want to use Google Maps to take you to the starting point, which is what we did. Our error was that once we got to the destination, we should have switched from Google Maps strictly to the app, because the app will give you turn by turn.
Right.
And so every time we drove off from the starting point,
Google Maps
was telling us to come back.
No,
around.
go back.
So,
it took us a couple laps.
We got it down.
It took us a couple laps to figure out that that's what was going on. But the other thing is that app worked great.
Yeah, it was $9.99 on the App Store.
Well worth it.
At the museum, they actually had a QR code you could scan and download it.
Really easy.
And you could do the tour just by following the signs, but no. Having the audio and talking about the different monuments, like the monument that had the dog carved in the side.
Yeah, Battlefield
you would have
Salad.
never known about Battlefield Salad, but by doing that audio, I'll tell you right in a minute, audio tour, it brings out little facets that you would never know of.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. So, I don't know if you guys can hear it, but the storm just hit. It's starting to rain. So
We must be on the road again.
Yeah, we must be on the road. It wouldn't be a Rewild Outdoors video if there wasn't some rain. But as far as the trip as a whole, it worked out great.
Yes.
So if you guys haven't watched the videos that have led up to this, I've made a whole playlist called Pennsylvania Road Trip. And you guys can click on that, start at the beginning. You'll see all the beautiful places that we camped at, Creekside. We found a cool little barbecue spot. Just so many beautiful views and stuff along the way. So if you guys are interested in that, go back and watch the videos that led up to this trip. So like I said, Greg and I, we decided to just book it after Gettysburg.
Yeah,
So
not only did we spend an extra hour and a half in Gettysburg because of just so much to take in, but we our route back took us around Washington, D.C. a little bit. We did, even though it was Sunday, did run into a little traffic there, and it would have put us getting to our campsite about like 9 at night, just before dark. we would have to put the campsite up, take it back down, and as I'm driving down, I'm going, well, Sean, if we were real road warriors, we would just cannonball this thing to the house, and that's what we did. Got here, what, about 3:45 in the morning?
3:45 in the morning. So this is the crazy thing is, the whole time we were on the road, I don't think it got over about 65 up there. Not one time did it get over 65. So we left there about 1:45 or so, 1:30, 1:45, and booked it back home. We got back here at 3:45 in the morning. It was 68 degrees. At 3:45 in the morning, it was 68 degrees when we got back here. It's like, why did we come back? But yeah, it was beautiful. The weather was beautiful the whole time. We really got blessed with this trip. Yeah. But I appreciate you so much setting this thing up. And Greg did a awesome job planning this trip out, and he planned it out with Hip Camp. And I think we're gonna do. We may just let Greg do the majority of it. A video on how he planned this thing out, and with Hip Camp and everything. If you're interested in that, leave us a comment and let us know that you're interested in that. But I think Greg did an awesome job, and I really appreciate you putting the time and effort into finding the great spots. And
it was my pleasure. I've always, I've just retired last year, so I've never had a chance to travel. So an opportunity when this arose, I was, when Sean mentioned it, meet up, you could tell he was kind of him-hawing on it. I said, well, I'll go with you.
And that really made my decision. It was like, okay.
And really driving, switching every 2 to 3 hours.
It wasn't bad.
Yeah, it really did make it. And plus, we're seeing new sights.
Yeah.
And we took a different trip up versus coming back. Coming back was a little boring, of course, because it was more along the I-95 border there. And
but
we were
at that point, too, we were just trying to book it on back.
But going up, you'll see when we planned it, I'll show you the planning video, the route we took. Some interstate, some just U.S. county country roads and things, and just gorgeous, gorgeous scenery.
We had to look out for cattle. We had to look out for
Amish buggies.
There was tractors. There were so many
fallen rocks.
Fallen rocks. Yeah, on the back roads. There were so many things that we saw along this trip. It was so much fun. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it that big thumbs up for me. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button down there and ring that notification bell so you get notified next time we put out a video. Again, I want to say thank you for Greg putting this trip together and planning it for us. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. See you next week.
Bye-bye.